I'm notorious for this, like, very lo-fi, underwater sound. People usually assume that it's a low-pass filter, and then I'm just rolling off all the top end. But for the most part, I'm actually degrading the sample rate, so I'm removing those frequencies from the top end. They're not even getting sampled in the first place. They don't even exist. When you would take out that pristine high end and sort of lower the sample rate, it would become a little more authentic, almost different, like it was sampled or like it was taken from somewhere. And the most important reason was back to what I was talking about focusing on an artist versus focusing on myself as a producer. So instead of focusing on my music, I was carving out an entire space in the frequencies. So the artist occupies the top end completely, almost exclusively, and the music sits in the bottom end.
That's 40, Drake's producer and engineer. For a good while, Drake was known for this drawn-out sound, which many, like 40 said, equated to a melody that was put through a low-pass filter. And it does make sense, a filter shapes the sound while creating room for the vocal. But again, 40 said that those assumptions were wrong. What he was doing was actually downsampling, or as he called it, degrading the sample rate. I saw that interview when it came out in 2016, but I never experimented with the technique. Now fast forward 6 years and I've been researching non-stop about this technique ever since I got this comment on my Low End Theory video. The comment was amazing and it put me on into this technique. And I gotta say, I think this technique just unlocked a bunch of breakdowns that I had halfway done. This is especially true for a lot of J Dilla stuff. I break down/study way more than I post. A lot of the times the breakdowns don't become videos because I can't justify making a video about it if I can't replicate the sampling well enough. By the way, watch it until the end and I'm gonna ask for help, and if you're really good at sampling, maybe you can help me figure out some of these breakdowns that I'm stuck on. But back to the comment, let's break it down. Here's a little trick to remove low end that I found out by myself. Not saying I invented it though, but I didn't learn it from a tutorial or whatever. I learned it by experimenting. In FL Studio, you can easily press reverse polarity on any sample you use. Basically, it flips the waveform horizontally. At this point, you won't hear any difference though. So now if you stack it with the exact same sample at the exact same time and volume and play it all together, you'll hear nothing at all, since the waveforms cancel each other out. Just complete silence. Okay, this is cool, but I'm not sure if there's any practical use for it. If you know of any, please let me know. So knowing this, I picked a sample and changed the bit rate of it to 800 or so. This completely removes all high-end data from the sample. The lower the bit rate, the more mid/high end is removed. It doesn't filter or mask the high end, it simply doesn't copy any of the mid/high end data. So now you are left with a sample that only contains low end. Now stack that with the original sample. If you play them both together, you hear the sample playing with the added bass. I'm not sure if there's a need to stack basses and if that just wouldn't create a mixing nightmare, but I at least can see that it might be useful. Regardless of any of that, what he mentioned here is downsampling, which is the same thing that 40 explained and pretty much what 75% of this video is about. So downsampling is a different way to filter. So let's compare a sample that has been low passed and a sample that has been downsampled at the same frequency rate and see what the difference is. The first one is gonna be New Jape's Counting Stars from a breakdown that I have coming up. Here I can tell the difference when I pay attention to the violin on the sample. Using a low pass filter, you can still hear a lot of the mids and high frequencies passing through the filter, even if I'm using a brick wall filter. Now on the downsample, it feels like it kills every mid and high frequencies above 1K. This becomes obvious when you pay attention to the violin, which is completely removed from the downsample version. The other example is gonna be from a breakdown that I just posted and was pretty much what inspired this whole video. It's from J Dilla's Much More. This one is special to me because I was stuck on this breakdown for months The issue was the vocal was always present, and I could never filter enough without affecting the melody, which was still present on J Dilla's beat. Now when you downsample, you get the ghost-like vocal, which is what you have on the J Dilla track. But it is important to remember that downsampling does not make filtering obsolete. It is all about how you want to shape the sound. For example, on the up-and-coming Some Beams breakdown, I tried both methods and I came to the conclusion that filtering was better suited here. Nonetheless, the results for downsampling are incredible. Now there's definitely a way to do this with just native plugins. On FL, for example, you can do it like this. Click on a sample, Ctrl E to open up on Edison. Right here, you right click on sample rate. This is gonna pop up. And here you can change the sample rate to whatever you want. If you want to remove everything above 1K, you select 1K and click resample so it doesn't stretch. Then you just click accept and the sample is gonna be downsampled. And then you can just click here and drag it to your playlist. Ta-da, downsampled. But nobody got time for that, and honestly I can just do it with the knob on Decimort. However, I am not sponsored, so I'm definitely gonna tell you about this free option named Crush. And they can do the same thing. Let's go back to Dilla. Even though downsampling is helping me break down stuff I was like stuck on for months, there are still a lot of things regarding J Dilla that I don't quite understand. So I'm asking for your counsel on how to improve, so I can add those things to my producer bag and also, help me finish these breakdowns. So I'm gonna call this section J Dilla stuff that I have no idea how to do. The first example I think is J Dilla Flowers. I think he does something with saturation and tape emulation here, because I have no idea how he goes from this sample to this sound. On the beat, you have pretty much, it feels like the high end was killed, but a lot of the character still bleeds through. But to get that sample that is super airy, super filled with mids and highs to sound the way it sounds on the beat, I'm not sure how he did it. I'm assuming it was some sort of tape emulation effect that he had on probably a rare, shitty hardware attached to his MPC. To try to get a sound similar to that, I can see being a combination of tape emulation and the downsample. And again, I try to get as close as possible, but I don't understand how to do it. Maybe I'm just missing something. And the second one is phasing. Maybe I'm just not that good at using phasers, but this breakdown for Seekers of the Sand, I have no idea how he got this wobble sound. My first idea, and it's kind of what I tried to do it here, but I didn't do it very well, is have a threshold on a phaser, and any frequency that passes through, like the guitar sound, it will be phased, creating that wobble effect. I kinda got it to wobble, but never on that rhythm that he has it going on. And third is the last part of that comment. If you reverse the polarity of one of the two, the low-end frequencies of both samples cancel each other out. This leaves you with a sample that doesn't contain any low-end frequencies. I did my research on this. I went on Reddit, I went on Discord, forums, YouTube, to see if this was possible, because I find it very interesting, the idea of downsampling backwards. Instead of removing mid and high frequencies, removing the low end. I think that sounded genius in theory, but after some conversations I had, I do not think this is possible. But let me know if you know a way to do this, because I think you could do amazing things on how to remove kick and even bass from samples. But to conclude this video, I just have to say that there are things that I have to accept that I won't ever be able to emulate, even though I really want them in my producer bag. I think a perfect example for this is Demarco. He said that he didn't have money to spend on any fancy equipment, so he just bought what he could. It was a cheap distortion right here, a cheap tape emulator, hardware, phasers, amplifiers for his guitar, and even though it was cheap, it shaped his sound.
And then I think I got a delay pedal at some point. I was like, okay, it sounds like John Lennon on the vocal. That's cool, I like that. I think, what was that? My first one, Akai Headrush? I like that one. But at the time, I remember a lot of my first records I made when I was a kid were on this Fostex VF80, like a disc drive recorder thingy. And I'll tell you my new true love, or maybe I shouldn't, because then the price will go up.
That's what I think J Dilla did. He had hardware attached to his MPC that probably we will never know what exactly it was. And if you do know, let me know, but we won't know what it was, and that's okay. It is easy to be enamored by a sound of an artist you look up to, but at the end of the day, the right way to be inspired by them is to make it with what you have, because that will be and is enough.